Nida had been working on the script for 6 or 7 years, so there'd been like a template there for a while. But I think she wanted to update it, and after producing and directing her series, she wanted to kind of add a few more of her Nida Manzour-isms to it. And so we went through the script, worked on the characters, on the storylines. And a lot of that is it's Nida's brainchild, but sometimes she just needs a sounding board for some of those ideas. So I think that's, I'd say, how best describes my role. For the fight sequences, they probably took the most amount of prep. So anybody that was involved in a fight, so Priya, who plays Rhea, Shona, who plays Kovacs, they had 6 weeks training prior to filming, and that training would be a bit of fitness, but also none of them had martial arts backgrounds. Priya had a dance background, so they'd come in. They'd do, Rob, our fight arranger, would come in and teach them some kind of basic karate or kung fu moves. And that went on like 2 or 3 times a week for 6 weeks. All of them have stunt doubles, but I think what's great about Nida is she wanted the cast to do as many of the stunts themselves as they could, and the cast wanted to as well, because the stunts weren't just kind of James Bond like, wow, they're flying through the air, they're kind of character driven as well. And so we wanted to see the actors' faces when they're doing the punches and the kicks and all the exciting things. The film has lots of amazing locations. Gaddesden, where was Rahila's house, and then the school in Rickmansworth, which was amazing. So basically we were looking for big buildings that I think that kind of reached a bit of establishment and a bit Hogwartian as well. So Rahila's house was like a big mansion with columns at the front and massive rooms. And so something you'd expect of like the establishment. And that's kind of where Rahila thought, I think that's part of her character. She thought, I want to be the establishment, I am the Queen Bee. So she had this big, amazing house. It's quite intimidating if you're Rhea, a young girl from the suburbs. And then the school is meant to be a bit like Hogwarts, like old school. And so you're meant to feel that sort of Rhea's oppressed in this old building, and then she's this free spirit in this kind of crusty old building. So that was a really nice contrast. And then some of the other locations, we were at the Docklands, we had the London skyline in the background. That felt really cinematic. In Polite Society, the costume and hair and makeup are a key part, especially we had a big, the last third of the film, the last act of the film is the big wedding, and that's where it all kicks off and everybody gets their comeuppance. And so I think we wanted the wedding to feel, again, a bit like the locations, really rich and established and quite strong colours, so that when you go into it, it's like a feast for your eyes. And sort of Priya gets a bit lost in it all. And so I think PC, our costume design, had a big job on our hands as well, because on the one hand, you wanted Priya to seem very normal and everyday, and then she'd go into this other world where she'd meet Rahila, who was like a power dressed, a bit like like in Dynasty, one of those kind of 80s soap operas where it's like power shoulder pads and kind of, high heels. And so you kind of enter that world. So I think that was really important. And again, with their hair and makeup, Rahila especially was very styled. And then you see Priya, who's very unstyled and very kind of like natural looking. So I think that was a key part as well.